Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode. I am JayBee, and with me is of course the mighty Mark Marsh.
Hey everybody.
So we're gonna do something very interesting today. This is gonna be part one of I don't know how long this will take us. I'm sure someone that's good with numbers can work things out. But we're gonna be ranking all the Scooby-Doo movies that were released into a tier list. Now, what I've done now is I've done it basically from Boo Brothers all the way up until Cyber Chase, which I like to do it in chronological order, but I can also see some appeal of it being randomized. So if you do want to see it done in a random order, I'll think about jumbling it up if you want to comment down below what your preference would be. But if we don't get any feedback, I am just going to go forward with it being, we start at Boo Brothers and we end with either the live actions because that's how Wikipedia sorts them all, or, with Trick or Treat. So that's how that's going to be there. But we have some different categories. So the top one is Ultra Instinct, which is that kind of Homelander meme. Like, it was perfect. Everything about it was perfect, down to the most minute detail. And then down from that, we've got How Groovy, which is great film. Love to see it. It's not perfect, but it's fantastic.
It's Jesus.
I know we've got mediocre, and I don't like that I've called it mediocre. I just couldn't think of anything Scooby related that's middle of the road. So it's just, it's fine.
It's average.
Again, that meme, it's all right.
I mean, it's all right.
It's all right. And then down from that, it's Scooby Don't. So that's, yep, this one isn't for me. I don't like much about it, but I'll probably not watch it again. And then down from that is Swamp Gas, which is, not only do I not want to watch this, but every single copy of this should be tracked down, thrown into an incinerator, set on fire, and then
it's the rocks. There's the biggest piece of dog shit. That's that one.
Yeah, so that's it. Like, literally the biggest piece of doggy duty. So I'm excited. So first, and this is going to be an interesting one because let's say, for an example, because this isn't in this video, so we don't have to worry about this. We get Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster up there. I would want to go How Groovy. Mark would probably want to go with either Scooby-Doo or Swamp Gas. So
it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
We're gonna have a bit of conflict on that one. So I'm excited to see how we manage to veer around that, how we compromise. So I'm excited. So first of all, we have Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Mark, because I know I've prattled on for ages. Okay, what's your initial thoughts?
It's been a long time since I've seen this, but I still remember it from memory. I when I put it as my last rating, I'd probably give it as like a mediocre rating because it's one of those films that I don't mind it. I just feel like it's average. It's all right. It's there. It's like Scooby and Shaggy, like not being afraid of the ghost for a change. It's like it was a change of pace, but it didn't really feel that much of a special. The Brew brothers as themselves were funny. They felt like the brothers from Casper. They had chemistry. It worked. But at the same time, I don't feel like the film helped that much because they hired ghosts to capture a ghost, and then Shaggy was scared of the real ghost because they call a fake ghost. And it's just like, I don't know. For me, I put it as mediocre. I'll watch it, but I'm not highly invested into it.
You know what? I actually find myself agreeing relatively wholeheartedly with that. The only question I would have is how much credit do we give this movie for some of the things we get later on? So if they did a feature-length Scooby like they did with Boo Brothers and it absolutely flopped, would we get Ghoul School, Reluctant Werewolf, Zombie Island, or is it more Zombie Island that we have to credit for what we get now? Like, because again, you've been in the Scooby scene more than me. Like, how much credit do we give Brew Brothers for that?
So, Boo Brothers was way before, so it didn't really contribute to the revival of Scooby Doo. So, I say Zombie Island is its own standing point where it came in '98. Where if you look at the history of Scooby Doo media releases, from about '94, I think it's when Putney's Scooby Doo was ending its last season, or it might be '93. And after that, we had nothing. So if that was on my own, I doubt we would have got What's New Scooby Doo because they did it right. They managed to get Witch's Ghost. People loved it. Invaders, people loved it. Cyber Chase, I mean, it's all right. That's all right. And then we had Watching Scooby-Doo, and that was the goat. That was the goat. But I don't think Brew Brothers like helped towards that revival. It helped bring out Ghoul School, which also made people fall in love with 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo more because it's like, that helped a lot. But I don't think it tribute a lot to the revival of Scooby-Doo at the late 90s.
And of course, what about Scrappy? Like, how was Scrappy? Because I know you're not a fan of Scrappy at all. Do you think without Scrappy, this could potentially have gone up, or was Scrappy just relatively harmless in this movie?
The weird thing is, when I watch these, I mostly ignore Scrappy out. And I worked out that if you just remove Scrappy from Boo Brothers, it's still just as great, if not better. It's weird. If you just watch Boo Brothers and just cancel Scrappy, and you think to yourself, was Scrappy in Boo Brothers? And it was, because I forgot he was in Boo Brothers that you mentioned it.
Yeah, see, again, there's like a theme with all of those. It's like just, oh, yeah, he's there. A bit like matches.
Rather than Werewolf had no relevancy in there. You just took out the scenes he had, and it was just like filler mostly, and that was it. Boom. Scrappy's gone from like a werewolf.
I actually do find myself agreeing with you. I'm gonna put it on the top of mediocre, or just on the top of average. But obviously, when I'm editing the tier list in, if we want to say actually we'll move, Ghoul School, for example, to the top of average, and we'll bump that one down. Like, we can do that if we want. But for now, I'm just gonna put it at the top of mediocre. So I like that for Boo Brothers, because really, it is literally, it's all right. Like,
Yeah.
it does some good, it does some bad. But now we have Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. So because you kickstarted Boo Brothers, I kind of wanna take turns just so one of us isn't influenced by the other one too much and vice versa. And I'm tempted for Brew Brothers to go with How Groovy. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Because
Yeah,
I
the
love
same.
the school. I love all the characters. I love the storyline. Like, and there's some genuinely creepy moments in there. Like that
Yeah.
weird little plant thing that Revolta has. And as a child, that scene with Shaggy looking in the mirror used to scare the ever living daylights
Yeah.
out of me.
That took me by surprise as a kid. Like that made me scared to look into the mirror, saying, "Is there an actual person in the mirror watching me back, ready to take me, be in the real world, or am I in the mirrorverse?"
Like, I do think it activated some type of fear
Yeah,
within me. Like you say with the Mirrorverse, that every time you walk past a mirror, who in the heck is to say that there isn't another type of psychedelic dimension
yeah,
where every time you walk past, it is simply because the proper you is on that same trajectory walking past. Like, it's
yeah.
so messed up, and the way he
Messes with your
grabs
head
Shaggy, and I just,
and
oh,
swapped him round. Is like that was probably the best, but also terrifying scene as a kid to watch.
like I
But
owe all my
I
awakenings to
agree. I
Scooby.
agree. How groovy is
How
probably the
groovy.
best way to place it. I wouldn't say it's S ranking like Ultra Instinct worthy because that would mean it's like top tier. Nothing really wrong with it. It was the goat basically, but I feel like how groovy there was room for improvement.
Yeah, there's a couple
They,
of
they
stuff
could
wrong.
they
Like, I
could
think
still
pacing,
yeah
pacing.
yeah like they can make stuff better in that. They can make it a bit longer, add a bit more context here and there.
And I didn't like the ending, because I feel
The
like it
end,
was
yes,
a Shaggy and Scooby story about growing to like these monsters and accept
yeah,
these monsters, even see past the monster and just think of them as little students who they're helping. Then like their parents show up, or like new students show up, and then they're just like, hang on, forget all that character development. There's monsters. Let's run away again. So
yeah,
I just didn't
and they
like
ran
that.
away. As well, they ended off in a sour note. So
Yeah.
they could have done it where they befriended them all because there's a chance. Because I feel like um there was a special in another cartoon show where it had featured the girls from Ghoul School.
Oh yeah, the OK
Yeah, the
or
OK
something.
one, yeah. And they referenced back at camp. So they could have done a reunion with Shaggy and Scooby. They could have done a proper reunion with the Ghoul School. So like if they were ever gonna do anything, that was their chance to do it.
I think if they
To this day,
ended
I'm
it,
waiting for. Yeah, if they
like,
ended on a better note, then we
say
could have got more.
Shaggy Scooby, they were just about to sign to stay at the school full time to start the new students, and then the mystery machine pulls up outside. Fred, Daphne, Velma say, "Hey guys, we really need you to solve this mystery or something." And then Shaggy Scooby could have had a nice moment with the monsters and then gone, but our places with Mystery Inc. We need to go and help them out. That I think just that little change. Maybe it
Yeah,
wouldn't put Ghoul School in Ultra Instinct, but I think it would put Ghoul School in the argument of could it be
and
ultimately the lower end
yeah,
of Ultra Instinct?
it could just
Maybe.
be barely making a way to Ultra Instinct.
So
It's
yeah, I think
almost
Ghoul
there.
School for how groovy is groovy. I mean, whatever word is there for it? So what's next? Oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. So Mark, what are your thoughts on this one?
See, I was thinking how groovy, but at the same time, I'm thinking B, mediocre, because a lot of stuff they could have really done better. Like a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, I love Reluctant Werewolf. I try not to make my passion and my love for something dictate my rankings. But I feel like Shaggy becoming a werewolf, really great touch. But noticing that Shaggy was a drag racer, that was even better because we saw more about the character. But the thing about me is that when Shaggy had his girlfriend, Googie, where we didn't really see or hear much about her afterwards. Like she was just gone for 2 second placements. Maybe, maybe they broke up, maybe they're in a long distance relationship still, but they never actually catered on that. Like, are they still together or not? And the ending didn't really leave on a high note because it left on a cliffhanger. So I feel like there was meant to be more to that, but they just thought was shelving it. If you watch the ending, it feels like they're about to make their revenge, but then that's it. They could have kidnapped Shaggy's girlfriend and done a whole arc about that. Maybe that's where Shaggy's girlfriend is. She's kidnapped, and then Shaggy's just given up. It's Shaggy. What's he gonna do? But they could have done something
There's a
along those
weird
lines.
theory. I don't know if you've seen this. That while Shaggy was a werewolf, oh, this is messed up, but I've seen this theory somewhere. That while Shaggy was a werewolf, him and Googie decided to get a bit romantic, a
Risky.
bit passionate, shall we say. And the result of that was Winnie from Ghoul School, and that's why there's no Googie anymore. Because if you're a human woman giving birth to a werewolf kid, probably not going to end well. I know, obviously, there's so many plot holes because then again, the Googie could have ran away after. Like, see, there's so many things that maybe that could connect,
Yeah,
but it is just a weird theory. It was just something I thought I'd worth mentioning. But I would agree with you as far as I would put it in mediocre, just because I
yeah.
do like it a lot.
I
It's just
like it.
in general, I'm not a great fan of races of that style because I think without the need for it to be action packed, the technology for it to be as action packed as even comparing it to a similar movie in essence, like the Tom and Jerry Fast and the Furious, like if they maybe beefed up the action a little bit, gave us more variety of courses as opposed to that one dirt track, maybe it's a different story. But the question now is it above or below Boo Brothers?
I say it's above Brew Brothers by a bit. I feel like they're each on the same level.
I really
They
don't
both
know.
have their quirks. I think they're the same because they both have areas to work on.
It's, it is.
I just like Rotten Level because Shaggy actually had a first female girlfriend that we knew about, but then that was it. They just thought, nah, let's remove it because it's not the character style. But people loved it. I don't think at the time people loved it, but I think that now with the whole media and people could talk perform, people prefer it. So it's like one of those things where back then it was about who was watching who was talking about who, but now it's like people want that stuff. So a lot of old stuff before the internet is way different because our opinions are more open out there than they
I
were.
think I find Reluctant Werewolf slightly more interesting because I really didn't care for that, you know, farm girl from Boo Brothers that was trying to like jump on Shaggy. I didn't care about her weird,
Yeah,
brother with the shotgun. But I find myself liking the Hunch Bunch quite a lot from Reluctant Werewolf. And even the vampire, the way he goes Shaggy, and how after every announcement there's just that monotone reaction from the audience who go yay. Like I like the quirk around Reluctant Werewolf, and I feel like Boo Brothers just confining itself to what was it, the Beauregard Mansion maybe wasn't the best move. So if it's okay with you, obviously you can kind of disagree with me if you want to. I'm tempted to put Reluctant Werewolf just a bit above Boo Brothers for the mediocre category. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. That's what I said. Bit above.
Okay, I'm happy. I'm
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. 'Cause I said
Ugh,
a bit above like Brew Brothers.
reluctant where?
God, I know the next one now.
Okay, so let's see.
my
Oh,
my face has it. Oh, my,
Arabian Nights.
oh mate, it's the biggest piece of dog shit. Do you reckon I want to give it?
So here's my thing.
That was the worst special I've seen. It
It
didn't make
wasn't great.
sense. You know what it felt like? It felt like a bunch of random shorts squeezed in to make it special.
I
It
don't
just
think
didn't
I'd
really
rush to
feel.
watch it again.
I wouldn't know because
There's
I
just
watched
so many
I
more
watched it on
movies.
VHS and when it came on DVD, I watched it now, but I haven't touched it since. I have not watched it since I first watched it on DVD when it first came out.
My issue is though, I'm struggling between Swamp Gas and Scooby-Doo because on one hand, I don't think I'm going to watch it again. I didn't particularly enjoy it, so I'm tempted to go firmly in Scooby-Doo just because I don't want to watch it. But I also don't think it's terrible enough to warrant let's burn every copy like it shouldn't exist because it is just bad. It isn't proper Scooby, but I can't think of anything in it that's actively this tarnishes the franchise, this ruins something. Like to me, it's just a bad food I don't like, so I'm not gonna order it, I'm not gonna buy it. Like it's not something that I actively have malice towards. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Because I've only seen it twice on VHS and DVD and never really touched it again. It feels like it should have belonged on a bonus feature on a DVD somewhere. Because that's what it reminds me of one of those episodes, like bonus feature episodes, where it's just on there and that's it. It's very short as well for a special. Out of all the other three, out of all the other three we just sort of talked about, it's probably the shortest one, Arabian Nights.
I even think the title,
If you take
if
away
it was
the intro and the credits, it's not really short. And then when you take away all the, if you focus on the main context of it, it's really short. But the story doesn't really go in the place where it should. It's all over the place. They're trying too much to show on screen. It's like just take your time, do bits and that.
I think if it was called something different, like if we didn't even need to discuss it in this series, but if it was simply Hanna-Barbera's Arabian Nights, kind of like how they did Mickey Mouse Three Musketeers, like if it was just let's do classic Arabian Nights stories but with Hanna-Barbera characters, I think we wouldn't watch it still, but it would
Yeah,
just be fine. We wouldn't even need to discuss it for this list. I think if it was just a Hanna-Barbera special, I'd go mediocre. But as a Scooby Doo special, because they call it Scooby Doo Arabian Nights, I think it's quite
even though
miserable.
it doesn't feel like a Scooby Doo
It doesn't.
film, it's like I said, really miserable. That's why I feel like it's in my heart it's D, just below C, just by a bit.
So what would that be for this? Would that be Swamp Gas or
Swamp
Scooby
gas.
Doo? I'm tempted to stick it at the end of Scooby Doo.
Because
Because
Scooby
I
Doo
know it's going to
feels
be
like
the worst of Scooby Doo. See, it's either the worst of Scooby Doo or dare I say the best of Swamp Gas.
I think it's gonna be the best of Swamp gas.
Best of Swamp Gas. Okay, I'm not mad at that.
I don't think it's gonna be the worst because when I did my list before, I only had like one or two things in the in the F category. It rarely gets below the average section.
I like that though. Like I think we're finding good compromises so far. Like because I'm definitely not angry at it being at Swamp Gas, but it isn't going to be at Swamp Gas, which is not spoilers because who's going to put this at Swamp Gas? We have Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. Now, did you go with your first impressions on Arabian Nights? I think you did. So I think it's back to me. This is gonna be boring. I think you have to go Ultra Instinct, right?
Yeah,
It's Zombie Island.
it's Zombie Island. It deserves S. It's the quickest one ever. It's like,
And I know people are gonna maybe say it's a bit too overrated, and I agree to an extent, but just because it's a bit overrated now doesn't mean it isn't Ultra Instinct.
yeah,
I think either
it's
way, it has to
it
be.
was done right,
Like the writing, the
perfect.
cast, the music. Oh,
Oh,
see, it
mate.
is everything
The
about it was
tone,
perfect.
the tone was the way they drawn everything. It was before computer animation. It was all hand drawn. The zombies looked really creepy. It was like on a whole new level, something I haven't seen before, especially from Scooby-Doo, who's supposed to be a family-friendly show. It's like they really, really did a good job on that one
So it was
because it
perfect.
showed it in Witch's
Absolutely
Ghost, which
perfect.
they brought the same chemistry over to Witch's Ghost, the same lore in that. Because even I was with Witch's Ghost when they first brought out that the same, the tone, the atmosphere, the soundtrack really built up. We also got introduced to other members of the Hex Girls. So there's like so many things going on. We had the normal mystery with the same supernatural take as well. So you mixed best of both worlds. Whereas Zombie Island, it was mostly on the documentary that Daphne wanted to do on the disappearance for a TV reality show, trying to find real monsters.
It's
Whereas,
almost one of the only ones with like a soundtrack that tells the story as well. Like you know that when they're
yeah,
on their way there, it's that da, 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 like kind of that happy, almost the harmonica type thing. Da, 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 da,
yeah,
da, da, da. But then when they get onto the island, it's all like da, da, da. Like it really. Oh yeah,
changes
definitely
completely.
Ultra Instinct. Ultra
Whereas Witcher's
Instinct.
Ghost, they had to like, okay, they couldn't go the same path. They had to throw in mysteries leading up to supernatural. So getting recruited by Ben Ravencroft, which we then find out at the end, it was all his big scheme to lure them back to his hometown, just so he can use them to find the book of Sarah Ravencroft. Also, the Hex Girls introductions, which fans loved, and we should have got Haunted High Rise because they deserve their own movie. And it's like even when they introduced like Sarah Ravencroft's Witch Ghost, like they did it in a way where it just built up the surprise where the audience was shook that Ben Ravencroft betrayed them in that sense. That it's I feel like Witch's Ghost is I want to say Ultra Instinct as well, but I feel like
I
it's just
agree.
below Zombie Island. I'm not saying it's above Zombie Island. I'm
Hmm.
just saying it's like just a little bit below it. It's like it's
Hmm.
there. Ultra Instinct.
I agree. It's Ultra Instinct. And I want to say that there's someone in the world that could argue it's better than Zombie Island, but I don't think it's me. I feel like there's some things that you can look at as more iconic. Like I think there's just as many Hex Girls fans as there are
yeah,
Zombie Island fans. Maybe not necessarily Witches Ghost fans, but some aspects of it I think have transcended that movie to an extent where you have to look back at this in a different way because For Zombie Island is good, we really just have that story to appreciate. Whereas for, for this now, you've got Witch's Ghost, all the appearances of the Hex Girls, the haunted high rise stuff that is just absolutely devastating. So I'm happy with it being just below Zombie Island, but I could definitely see other people's list edging that a bit above, but I think
yeah.
for this one, it's nicely under Zombie Island for the time being. Okay, now this is always a controversial one because a lot of people have different opinions on this. But Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders. So kicking off with my thoughts on this, for the longest time, this was actually my favorite animated one, like forever, because I love Crystal and Amber. I am a absolute sci-fi freak. I've always loved Doctor Who, like binge watching every episode. I love anything to do with aliens and space. So this was really the Scooby Doo movie for me as a child, and so my instinct, for lack of a better word, is to put this to Ultra Instinct. But I know, for example, Millie really doesn't like this one because she's not into aliens. So it's a controversial one. So
See,
what's your take?
I would base it as A ranking How
Oh,
Groovy,
groovy.
because I feel like it's great, but I don't think it's S level up there Ultra Instinct, because there's still so much more they can do to make it perfect.
I mean, the
I
ending.
still love the ending because it's the most saddest ending they've done. I still love how they had chemistry between Shaggy and Crystal.
Yeah,
They even
yeah,
showed a
yeah.
scene where they were brave in that, but it's very slow getting into the movie when you try and start from where they do begin to where they actually get the ball rolling when they meet Crystal. It's very slow moving pace before they get there. Even the first aliens that in the costumes look like broccolis to me. I don't know if that was, I don't know, it was just me. They look like broccoli. And just seeing them as like they're running away from vegetables, which makes sense in the way doing them as broccoli because Shaggy and Scooby don't eat healthy. So they could have done the whole scene of like them chasing away just from vegetables. Because it made me stop eating broccoli as a kid.
But the question is, do you like broccoli now?
Yeah, I don't like broccoli. Yeah,
That's a weird question. No,
yeah.
no. So broccoli aside, my kind of thing is, I do see some problems with it. I love the sad ending in terms of them saying goodbye. Not a fan of how they instantly are go, they instantly go back to laughing and joking. But I guess if you ended it on sadness, you don't want to depress kids and leaving a
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo movie feeling sad. Like that's the last thing you want. So I understand, but I kind of just wish they did it a bit differently. Like maybe there was a glimmer of hope. Like at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, maybe there was just a scene where Shaggy and Scooby are walking alone somewhere, and then there's a light in the sky, and you hear Crystal Amber's voice saying, "Hey, do you guys want to come somewhere with us?" Like just if it was something like that, maybe. But again, I see that being a bit hokey, and then there'd be questions like, "Where are they now? Why don't we see
Yeah.
them again?" So, I really have issues with it not being an Ultra Instinct, but I can acknowledge that there's more issues with it than with the others, like the pacing
It's
at the
why I would
start,
say How Groovy would be
the
probably the
ending.
best way for it because you're not overstretching it based on your love for it, but you also acknowledge that there is some things they could have done better with it.
Mm.
And as I grown up now, when I rewatch that film, I always like I did the same with Zombie when I overthink stuff and I start questioning things. So they went all the trouble for gold. I thought they must have spent more money than they did making gold. So they really lost more money. So the whole mining for gold thing, they would have probably been better off just giving it to the government.
Yeah, just
Because
selling
they,
that spaceship they
they
made and
that
just
spaceship probably
going
cost
on
millions
holiday.
already. Just the whole to give the lore and the costumes, the tech that they use, just to drill with it and trying to keep the whole secret going. It's like you went in a lot of trouble for that,
Oh, I
paid a lot of
love the
money before you
music
even
though.
made money. And you want to mine gold where the gold value declines over time. So you probably lost more in your investments doing that. So that's what I question as a kid. Why?
The question now is though, do we put it above or below Ghoul School? I feel like I've watched Ghoul School more, but at the same time, I like how we've got the full gang in Alien Invaders. I like the production design a lot more, the music a lot more. And we've got
I,
Jennifer Love Hewitt singing the Scooby-Doo song. Where else can we see that? Like,
I say it's above School School.
I'm very
You
happy
know,
with that. I'm very happy with that. Because I wanted it in Ultra Instinct, but I'm happy with it being up on How Groovy. And the song How Groovy came from that. So I think it's perfect for it to be, at least for now, the king of How Groovy. Okay. So we've done Alien Invaders now, which is good because now we're kind of on to the newer ones, if you want to call it that, because it's the same era, but this was when it all started to get a little bit more digital.
yeah,
And we have
because
Cyber Chase.
Cyber Chase actually has the same animation to what Scooby Doo is currently using. The clothes are different, but the same animation is the same. So it's why I feel like Cyber Chase pretty much is the last one before what's in Scooby Doo took over. Then we had movies that had the same art style and clothing as what's in Scooby Doo. But for me, I've always said this in the past: Cyber Chase should not have been a movie. It should have been a series because there's too much going on in Cyber Chase where we have to fast forward and do a Rocky montage before we get to the final
All
the
the
final
levels that look
final
so
level.
cool. We
Yeah,
had to montage over.
I feel like they just like stole pay from Rocky and did the whole build up hype where you just skip to the end and then saw the ending and then you went to the final level. So if you'd done it as a series, you could have done it as a 5 episode or even 10 if you wanted to, and done a level an episode and done more development for those episodes because after the Colosseum one, there's some good episodes. So there's some good levels they've
The
thrown in
little
there.
Ant-Man one I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah,
I guess the Egyptian one we've kind of done that quite a few times, but it still
yeah.
would have been interesting because that Anubis monster would have been such a cool main villain. Let me think what other levels we kind of skip
There was the
over.
samurai sword one. There was the dragon one. There was the underwater one.
Oh, the
There was
underwater one would have been
there was
my
the polar
favorite, I
bear
think.
one.
Mm.
And so they missed all these good ones they could have done.
Oh, the medieval one.
Yeah, the medieval one. That it was like the moon level was fun, and so was the Colosseum one. But they spent too much time in those levels, but the point where they needed to keep the episode in the time frame where they just fast forward to the last one, which I believe they did do more dialogue for the levels, but due to time restraints, they had to cut them and do a montage. And I feel like for me, I would place it as mediocre because it's for what it was, they could have done a lot more. The whole virus is a great touch, but for movie format, you kind of really missed a golden opportunity. Maybe it was like a 2 hour movie, but for them periods times, it was like an hour and a half at most.
I don't
Isn't
know.
the
I have a
average.
lot of nostalgia for this one because I remember vividly owning that old Snap case. And of course, I appreciate it looking back because that was the movie that
I got the
introduced
snap
us
case.
to
I've
Grey, you
got
know,
I got the snap case for it.
to Grey Delisle as Daphne.
I'm gonna grab that quickly because it's got nice artwork on it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because probably the best thing they done was the snap cases
Oh,
because it's just the nice artwork they've done. It's like unique,
I love that.
and you don't get this with other DVDs out there. That's why I love Snapcases because they did a lot of work with the artwork on it. Because even though people say, "Oh, that's basic," they could do an insert sleeve, but they didn't. Even the DVD, even though it's not great, it's still right text, but then on the back as well, it's like it stands out the most.
See, here's my thing. I know for a fact I can't leave the Zoom call in good consciousness with it in mediocre. But at the same time, even as a kid, I knew that there were some glaring holes in the works. Like for instance, why wasn't there a way to opt out of the game? Why did you have to play through the level? Like if you put something in there like a test, like they obviously have a test level, but the Scooby snack. So if you just put something in there, well, an inanimate object can't play through the game. So are you just essentially making a tip? And in that case, there's otherworldly things you've got to think about, like
Yeah,
waste, landfills. Could this technology, instead of making a game, could we utilize this to actually get rid of a lot of pollution and muck from everywhere? Like, there's other implications, but that's more serious. Let's not talk about that. But in terms
they
of
did
the
a lot of
lore,
they did a lot of good things with it by adding in the old character designs for them, using the old red shirt Shaggy, red collar Scooby, the old outfits that the gang used to wear with Fred old Ascoff and what he wears now. They did a nice job keeping them as the playable characters in the game and nice interactions with each of the which each of the cyber gang members and the real life ones. But it's just like for me, it's like they really missed the golden opportunity with those levels.
it's a
Okay,
very
I know the main thing
obvious
is
villain as
fighting the
well.
yeah, the obvious ones like each like clues are in the episodes, but it's just like the clues are in the level designs, but at the same time, there's phrases each time you can tell it's it's the best
And
friend
there's
because
even
of play
loads
ball.
that they don't even mention. Like they mention, let's play ball, but there's also other things that are so obvious that they don't even mention when they're wrapping things up, like the virus referring to the skeletons as the home team and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
even the batting cage, I don't think they fully dwell upon. But there's so many things that like
but it was the
heavy
Colosseum
hitter as
episode that
well
gave it away because
of the chalk.
they designed it as a baseball stadium, and I think that was to give a clue that Eric was the one behind it because when he made the virus, he also changed certain elements of the game levels. So that's why the Colosseum one has the Colosseum on it. But again, they didn't even bother um, mention it when they wrap things up. Even the
Mm.
security guard as well. Like even like when they said that the culprit could be one of them, people thought it was a security guard, but there's no way he's that smart enough.
Yeah, it's even
But
the
you got a
fact
good
that
game
none
and
of
they're
them
selling.
looked at the gang in the game and noticed the field and singled the guy out. And that class in general is my biggest problem with the movie. The fact that you've got Eric Stauffer making a groundbreaking game, different levels, different monsters. You can literally transport things into that game, and he's competing against a Game Boy game that's
Yeah,
baseball, where you click and someone runs, you click and another person runs, maybe you press the A button to hit the bat. Like there's no way they're in the same class. Like that's
no.
ridiculous.
So what they pretty much made him as a basic game. They could have done any other way of making the character stand out more, but there's no way someone with that talent would be working on a game in a laboratory. The main thing is the dematerialization of objects into a game. I think that's the real study. I think the game's just a front to make money. I think the real weapon is the dematerialization.
Oh,
But that's what I feel like it's got more room to work on. If they did it as a series, they could have worked on those elements, made it more about the machine, not about the game. And they could have like added more details into the levels. They could have added some sort of different purpose rather than making it solely purpose about a game. If you were making a game, you wouldn't be in a laboratory. You wouldn't be with a scientist. Yeah, the technology is great. Maybe that explains why you're in a lab, but you wouldn't be there in a school. You'd be in a company black site making this game or something. You wouldn't be in a school leaving that equipment there with a out of shape security guard. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. I wouldn't like. They didn't really think that much about it, but for like episode wise, they could have done much more.
it's a
That's
shame
why.
with that security guard as well, because that was Joe Alasky, and it's kind of like a bit of a waste of Joe Alasky's talents of it as well.
And there are some funny moves with him where he's like Scooby's mimicking him.
He's like,
I've been in the force for 20
ah,
years.
wise guy, eh? See, here's the thing. I really want it on How Groovy. Because I think it's a lot better than the stuff that they've put out in recent years, but also more flawed in many ways. But then
Yeah,
does that
because
counterbalance it? I almost feel.
if I feel like hey, how groovy is like, there's not a lot of room. Like B is still average in my eyes. I feel like average is like the middle ground. We you still watch it, but you're still going to question that things could be better. Whereas how groovy is like there's not really a lot to change. Like it's almost perfect, but it's not
Mm,
there. Whereas I feel like Cyber Chase is not close to perfect. It's far off from it. I'll still watch it, but I feel like there's a lot they could have done that made it much more better. Even if it was a two-part movie, they could have done something like that.
maybe. I feel like I would rank it above Reluctant Werewolf and Boo Brothers.
But when you do watch the VHS and DVD ones, you can see where it would have originally cut to a commercial break because it would go to it would fade out the black, and that would be a size, and that's when you were run the commercial, and it will fade back into the shot. I've like they left those in there without actually re-editing them out. And it's on the DVD one as well. But it's like nowadays movies don't have that with the direct to TV ones because they're direct to videos, they're not direct to TVs no more. But Cyberchase was on TV for Point on Cartoon Network or Boomerang, and so they just like instead of having because it came on DVD much later. It was on VHS to begin with, so that's what has the ad break cuts.
See, I think you've actually picked up on that formula a lot better than me, because when we went over the categories at the start, we referred to what I've called mediocre as that meme, it was all right,
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like my blocks come in, because I wouldn't call Cyber Chase mediocre, but I would call it all right.
Yes. It's
So
all right, average. There's still a lot more to improve on, but you can still watch it. I'll still gladly sit down and watch it, and won't get bored of it. But I'll still question how they could have done it better. And there's more room for improvement than there is far less. Because if I put it how groovy, that means there's only a little bit they have to change to make it perfect. But I feel like that's not the case. There's so much more they could have done to make it perfect. I'm not saying it's not perfect. It's good, but it could be better. That's why I feel like mediocre B range is how I would place it.
would you be comfortable? Because I actually think I've got what I would like to do with this formula, but it's how much you agree or not. I think Ghoul School's better than Cyber Chase, but I think Cyber Chase is better than Reluctant Werewolf and Boo Brothers. Where would you put that in the okay category?
Well, good. What? Cyber Chase.
Yeah.
I've So there's Alien Invaders and there's School. If we were gonna put it in the A category
Oh, I
for
mean
how
in
group
the
it.
in the mediocre category, where would you place Cyber Chase within that?
Oh, Boot Brothers and Reluctant Werewolf. If we were, because Reluctant Werewolf is above Boot Brothers, I would say Cyber Chase is above Reluctant Werewolf.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
on the same page.
yeah.
I'm on the same page.
That's where we would place it.
It is still a little bit lower than I would have thought, but I think if I rework that category, because I do agree it's definitely better than those two, but I don't enjoy it as much as School. So I'm quite happy with that. And I guess that was the last one for this part one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually really enjoyed this. I was kind of a bit like struggling to think if there'd be many more topics after we did the fan cast. But really, I think this tier list, by the end of it, will actually be some of the best work we've ever put into this little series.
Because what was it? We've done the first main section. I think how many? I think there's like 29 movies.
Yeah, and of course you've got the live actions and
Yeah.
Scoob and stuff like that, Daphne and Velma. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this. I think it's gonna be good, but that will do us for now. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Mark, for joining. Do you wanna kind of, I guess, to finish up on, what Scooby-Doo movie that we haven't spoken about with the tier list? You don't need to give away your indication of what you thought about it if you don't want, but which one are you most looking forward to getting to discuss where it's going to go into the tier list?
Oh, I think it's gonna be a lot less monster because I think
Oh
everyone watching
no.
this wants to see me talk about that. Like, it's not gonna put it higher up because when I did the movie list, I put it as like number 10
See,
as
that might
the
even
worst.
be our last episode. We might even get into some type of
When I
altercation.
did the top 10 worst Scooby-Doo movies,
No.
I put it as number 10 because first number one was the worst, and 10 being the least. So I
Okay.
thought I put it as
Oh.
10 being the least. And people were like, I can't believe you put Loch Ness Monster as number 10. Or the other one, which was Monster of Mexico, I think was the other one I chose as number 9. So I think those two is what everyone's going to be very excited for me to would
Oh, and they're
rank them.
both in the next part as well.
Yeah, I know.
That might be all because we. Oh, and the tier list is what we'll be doing. We might even that might be our last episode. That might be our last episode ever.
I mean, because
We
like
might hang up from the Zoom,
I'm just like
blocking each
that. It's
other.
it's swamp gas. People like, no,
Oh
it's how
gosh.
groove is. Like it's not.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. So there's definitely a lot to look forward
Because
to in this series, but
the weird thing
also
is, I have to. rewatch it again for next week for the
Oh,
tier list.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
what did
because
you? Oh,
for the tier list. So I've rewatched all of these. Well, I didn't need to see. The ones I didn't need to see were Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, and Alien Invaders because I've seen them. So
oh.
I know them all by heart. But I had to rewatch Arabian Nights.
So you're like dedicated to this.
Yeah.
That's actually mad. I
I
feel
thought we were
bad.
watching them or something.
Thank
Okay, I sit
you.
down and watch the
Oh,
ones I
wow.
need to watch, but the others I don't really need to because some of them I've seen so many times that I know Zombieland's story off by heart. I could just go and meditate and watch the entire hour and a half movie. So I think
This
for
is
the next
why.
week when I have to rewatch the movies, I'm gonna hate Loch Ness Monster because I always critique it as
Oh,
like there's episodes on
I
it.
just
I've
don't
seen this
understand like the
storyline
song,
so many
when it all falls
times.
apart, gotta keep it together. Like, just stop it. But look, you are the GOAT. I can't believe you're rewatching them. That's amazing. You are the
I
undisputed
thought you
GOAT.
were rewatching them as well.
I think I know all these off by heart. I mean, when we get to the watch some of the watch new ones, like I'm gonna have to rewatch
I
Samurai
had
Sword
to watch
again.
Arabian Nights again.
I'm gonna
That's
have
how
to
bad
rewatch
it
Daphne and
was.
Velma again when we get to that, because there's some that I really haven't watched that much. These are all I've watched about 5 billion times each. When it gets to the middle, I'm gonna have to rewatch. I mean, some I'll rewatch again for fun, like it's the summer, Aloha. I could, get a
Yeah.
bit of, non-alcoholic cocktail, sit in the garden, get my phone, watch a bit of Aloha, like just relaxing. Some of that stuff, but yeah, there's some stuff that I know I'm gonna have to do. So there's a lot to look forward to in this series, no doubt, but also a lot to look forward to with what you're doing with all your unboxings and all the videos. So, Mark, for the sake of people watching this, where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
So you can find me on my social media accounts at Twitter at iGozaluigi. You can also find me at my Instagram at MarkMarsh94 and also at my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Mark Marsh.
Yeah, it's good. You've put out some good stuff lately. Your physical Scooby-Doo media collection is amazing. Loads of people wanted to see that. It's amazing. It really is good. So
Because
if you're watching this, go watch that. I'll leave it linked in the
I'm
description down
I
below.
still want to rechange the shelf at some point because I want to get more VHS tapes on Scooby
Oh,
Doo
yes, please.
because I'm really into my old school because I have so many doubles. Because what I do now is sometimes I have to buy bundles to get just one tape that I want. And then I have to either resell the weird tapes to make some money back so I can buy more. So if there's one Scooby-Doo tape and it's in a bundle and I can't find it on its own, I have to buy the bundle. And they're like, great, I have to sell these duplicates somehow. And then the money I make from those resales, I could then put back into buying another tape. So it's why there were so many doubles on the VHS tapes because they're from bundles just to get one.
I like that. I like that. So I will leave that linked in the description down below. So yeah, that'll do us for another episode. If you do want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
See
You be
ya.
the last one.